again, MMA True Believers. I am Jason Burgos for Shooto.com, and this is truly a special occasion. It is not every day you get to talk to the CEO of one of the biggest fight promotions on the planet, but today I have that luxury. Over the last 8 years, he has helped to lead one championship into being the preeminent MMA powerhouse in Asia, with plans to eventually bring his brand of mixed martial arts to our shores here in the U.S. and everywhere soon. On October 13th in Tokyo, Japan, the promotion will put on not one but two major shows in a two-part celebration of the organization's century event. He's a multidisciplinary martial artist, a sometimes model, and put simply, an international man of mystery, and he is Chatri Sityodtong. Mr. Sityodtong, sir, thank you for giving me some valuable time tonight. I really appreciate it. This is truly an honor.
Thank you so much, Jason. I really appreciate the intro. You got one part wrong. I am never a model and have never been a model. I mean, maybe the media asks me to pose for photos, but I'm not a model. Thanks for the props, though.
You were in Black Belt magazine. That's far more model than any of us will ever be. Now, when this all started, just over 9 years ago, I believe, in your gut, did you feel...
8 years ago.
8 years ago. 8 years ago.
8 years ago, September. 8 years ago, September.
Did you feel in your gut in that time or even just a confidence that you could get this to 100 events, or was it just more a hopeful dream that you hoped for one day?
No, I really did believe in the vision. I really did believe that Asia needed its first multi-billion-dollar global sports media property. I mean, again, every region in the world has several multi-billion-dollar sports media properties that are part of the fabric of society, culture, tradition, and history. So you look at, North America, it's NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA. You go to Europe, it's, EPL, F1, Champions League. And you come to Asia, there's literally nothing. Even to this day, there's literally nothing on a pan-Asian basis, on a global basis, except for one championship. So what I will say, though, what took me surprised is that it only took us 8 years to get this far. So I never expected, in a million years, that in 8 years we'd be a truly global sports media property in 145 countries. I thought it was going to take a lot longer, but, I think the power of the internet, the power of technology, the power of social media, I always say that it's the easiest time in history to create a global brand from scratch because of technology, because of the internet, because of social media. But I also believe it's the hardest time in history if you're an incumbent brand to stay the leader.
Now, what was the process you went through where you thought, okay, it is worth it to do two events on one day, and it's not save some of these major fights, because it's a ton of huge fights for a later day, because quite a few of these could headline events somewhere else down the line. What made you say, yeah, I got to do two and make it so massive?
Well, I named the event One Century for a few reasons. One is I wanted to genuinely throw the biggest martial arts event in history in the last century. And forward-looking, I wanted to send a signal that one championship is here for at least the next 100 years. And so as my team and I were thinking about what can we do that really signifies and symbolizes, that remarkable moment. And for us, it was, let's do something that has never been done before in history. Let us throw two full-scale world championship events with 28 world champions, 7 world title fights. Let's do something that no organization in history has ever attempted to do. Let's do something the world has never seen. And that's why you have 2 mega shows, literally 12 hours of action, world-class championship action in the same day.
Now, how much more difficult will this process be to undertake? Have you had to hire extra staff? How much more difficult is it in terms of logistics and getting people over there, getting equipment, all this kind of stuff, to have two separate serious major MMA events one day?
It's definitely very, very difficult. I mean, there's a lot of intricacies to throwing 2 world-class events on the same day. Again, it's never been done before, and my team and I are ready to, put on a great show for One Century throughout the day. So it's going to require, a lot of things that never have been done before. But again, I'm very confident in my team. I'm very confident that they will be able to execute. We've rehearsed this a million times, and now it's just showtime come October 13th / October 12th, Saturday night in America.
Now, one important thing, because everybody wants to see this event. It's a huge event, one of the biggest events ever, one of the biggest events for sure this year. And there's a key difference this time around. Now, the bodylock.com reported that this event will be the first for one on Bleacher Report's Live in terms of you have to have a subscription to do it. Now, that concept is nothing surprising, and especially in MMA today, several major promotions, it's part of a paid application. UFC's on ESPN Plus, Bellator and Combate Americas and KSW are all on DAZN. Was the plan always to have events to be a subscriber service exclusive eventually, or is it just the regular one-century event because previous events weren't?
Well, let me start off with the good news. The good news is that we're going to be on TNT Saturday night prime time, October 12th in the U.S. for free for the whole world. Okay, in the U.S. And so that's a huge thing for One Championship, but it's also a huge thing for our fans, and it's a huge thing for all of martial arts fans in the U.S. They get a chance to witness, again, what I believe is the greatest event in history, and they get to watch for free. BR Live is going to be charging for the rest of the fights. There's two parts of our show, and for the second part of the show, they will be charging. But again, I think it's just because the event is so historic that BR Live decided to charge. But the reality is this. The reality is that this doubleheader, while it's the first time in history, it will not be the last time in history for One Championship. You will see many more doubleheaders in the future, starting in 2020.
So is it going, because the previous one events were you just have Bleacher Report Live, the basic, and you can watch it. After this, are they going back to that? Okay, that's good to know that. All right. Now, there are a ton of important fights on this card. We have 2 Grand Prix finals in terms of MMA with Demetrius Johnson. Christian Lee, I actually talked to Christian a couple days ago, jumping in on short notice to fight Doggy, which is a fantastic fight. You got Angela Lee gets back to defending her title for the first time this year. Looks to try to avoid a third straight loss. Fernandez Belagnon a 4. Brandon Vera goes for champ status. I mean, amazing stuff and a lot more for Chatri the fan, not the promoter, because I'm sure the promoter feels every fight's great. Is there a fight you are really personally looking forward to more so than any other?
Yes, there are 3 fights that I'm really super excited for. Number 1, Angela Lee versus Jingnan, Zhong Jingnan, the rematch. Yes. Remember, Angela Lee went up a weight class and tried to become the first woman to be a 2-division world champion in One Championship. She failed. She got stopped by Jingnan. Now Jingnan drops down to atomweight to try to steal Angela Lee's title. So the stakes are enormous. And the question really in everyone's mind is, will Angela Lee come out mentally strong, or will she break because she has lost to Jingnan before? At the same time, will Jingnan at the lower weight class be the same Jingnan with her monster KO power? So there's a lot of questions at stake. But again, it's history at stake. If Jingnan can win, then obviously she becomes the first 2-division world champion in One Championship history. The second fight that I'm really, really intrigued by is Brandon Vera versus Aung La Nsang.
Yes.
Obviously, Aung La Nsang is a middleweight champion as well as the light heavyweight champion, but he fights primarily in middleweight division. Then you have Brandon Vera, who's our heavyweight champion, who's coming down to light heavyweight. So it's David versus Goliath. It's for all the marbles, in the sense that Brandon Vera genuinely believes this is for his legacy. He wants to be a 2-division world champion when his career is all said and done, many years from now, and he views it as his opportunity to make that dream happen. Aung La Nsang has always wanted to face a bigger man, heavyweight champion, and so this is where he gets to, stamp out his legacy as well. So this is, again, it's all for all the marbles. And the third fight I'm super excited for is Demetrius Johnson versus Danny Kingad. Because obviously Demetrius Johnson is arguably the greatest mixed martial artist pound for pound in history. And Danny Kingan is one of the best to ever come out of Asia. So it's going to be an incredibly exciting match just because of the way they fight. DJ's all action. Danny's all action with KO power. He genuinely has one-punch KO power. And so, can DJ implement his game plan without getting knocked out? That's a big question. And obviously, DJ has struggled in one championship. He used to steamroll everybody in the UFC. And since coming to one championship, he's really struggled. Even though he's been victorious, he's really had to overcome adversity, which is, again, the mark of a true world champion that DJ is.
And I'm glad you brought up those two, because I actually talked to Michael Schiavello, a long conversation just on research to get an idea of certain fights. And he talked about the Aung Lang Song, and I asked him this question. I asked you too. You are the man in charge. Is that fight, and that's the fight I'm most excited for, Aung Song and Farah. Are those two, would you say, the best ever in one championship in their three specific divisions they are champion in? That which makes it so big.
I would say they're up there, but I wouldn't say they're the very best. I mean, it's no secret that Aung Lang Song trains at Hard Knocks 365 with all the other UFC top contenders and champions, and he dominates them. So it's clear that he ranks amongst the very, very best middleweights in the world. But is he the best ever in one championship? I don't know. I mean, I'm not ready to say that yet. Obviously he's a very, very tough, gritty, resilient fighter. But I wouldn't put him up there yet. He's got to prove himself. Brandon Vera, I would say, obviously technically, speaking purely as a martial artist, Brandon Vera is a heavyweight who moves like a lightweight. His balance, his speed, his power, his technique is beautiful, whether it's his striking, whether it's his wrestling, whether it's his ground game. He's just a beautiful technician. So, Brandon Vera is obviously very, very popular, not only globally, but he's very, very popular in the Philippines, where his home is today. But can I call either men the best ever one champion? No, I really would not say that.
Now, and going forward towards Demetrius and Danny Kingata, when I talked to Mike, he made the point that it's a tough sell in that if you just look at the two resumes, Demetrius' all-time resume, Danny's resume on the come-up, he had a title shot once before, it didn't go too well. He felt that if you were going door to door, it might be like trying to sell ice to an Eskimo, just because the resumes are so big. But he was making an excellent point that there's just something special for the people out there that maybe don't get it about Team Lakai and how dominant Team Lakai has been in one.
Again, I'll say this, okay? When DJ was in the UFC, he steamrolled through everybody, and it's arguable whether he lost to Henry Cejudo. I actually had him beating Henry Cejudo.
Me too.
And Henry is a dear friend, and I love Henry. But I did think DJ won that fight. And since coming to one champion, DJ has really struggled. He has, I think the level at one champion has shocked DJ. And now kudos to DJ in that he's risen to the occasion. But he was in trouble. He lost the first round against Yuya Wakamatsu and came back with a submission victory. He lost some rounds against Tatsumito Mitsuwada as well. So, DJ has definitely faced adversity in one championship. Now, I think Danny Kingan is just a different beast, a different animal. Again, his one-punch KO power. He comes from the mountains of Baguio, so his cardio is literally limitless. I've never seen anyone move the way he does at 100 miles an hour and still maintain it through every single second of 5 rounds. DJ has a big, big, big task on his hands, If you throw any of the best UFC or best Bellator flyweights into the mix, I don't think many of them could survive in one championship.
See, and this is why you are an excellent promoter. Now that fight, now I'm looking forward to that fight even more. It's right up there with Ansong and Vera now for me, because the way you explain it, fantastic stuff. Now, one fascinating part of the second event of the 4 fights, and it's very historic and very cool in that way, are the 4 fights pitting Pancrase champions versus Shooto champions. Your promotion has a working relationship with Pancrase, similar to what the UFC has with the LFA, Bellator has with like Shamrock FC and stuff like that here in the States. Talk to me about how this all came together. This is pretty amazing and crazy. Is your relationship with Shooto similar to Pancrase? And for newer fans unfamiliar with Japanese MMA, why?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. The Shooto and Pancrase CEOs, slash owners, they're really close personal friends of mine, and we've all agreed that from now on, Shooto and Pancrase are going to be feeder leagues into one championship.
Nice. Okay.
And never before have we ever seen Shooto versus Pancrase, even in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
They are
Yep.
very, very fierce rivals,
Yep.
and actually the two CEOs don't even talk to each other. But it was last year where we all had coffee together, and we all agreed, hey, let's do what's best for Japan, and let's get all of the Pancrase athletes and all the Shooto athletes focused on, eventually the best guys, getting a shot at the big leagues and one championship. And so we formalized our partnership in where the very best Pancrase and the very best Shooto athletes get a contract into one championship. And so this is a really historic moment for Japanese mixed martial arts.
Yep.
I mean, the fans are going nuts here. They've never seen Shooto versus Pancrase, the best of the best. And, the winners will get contracts into one championship. So this is an epic, epic moment in Japan. The Japanese fans are going nuts. And, for me, I'm very grateful to have Sakai-san, who's the CEO of Pancrase, and Sakamoto-san, who's the CEO of Shooto, both close personal friends of mine, but both who have, decided to align 100% of their organizations behind one championship as our official feeder leagues.
And of course, talking about fans going crazy, talk to me about the One Martial Arts Fan Fest, which actually went on yesterday, or here in the States yesterday. What made you to decide to do it here and now? Is it because Japan is such an important market in terms of one's continued expansion? Is it because of the serious gaming culture that you told me about last time there are, and one's esports division will be ramping up plans for that, big plans soon for that?
Yeah, so we had an excellent fan fest, here in Japan, in Tokyo, combining the best of esports. So the best teams from Street Fighter as well as Tekken came to compete. Actually, funny enough, DJ also competed. And then we also had the best of One Warrior Series, which is the up-and-coming prospects from around the continent. But in this case, the theme was Japan versus the world. So we got some of the, rising prospects of Japan to compete. And then, of course, we had our open workouts. We had, our virtual reality show for fans. We had, meet and greets with Misha Tate, with, Demetrius Johnson, myself, Angela Lee, Christian Lee. So there was something for all fans. And so it was a great turnout and a great way to celebrate this upcoming one century event. And it was really, again, about one champion investing heavily in Japan. We've invested heavily in the Japanese ecosystem, whether it's the athletes ecosystem, whether it's the promotion ecosystem, whether it's a business ecosystem. We've aligned with all the right broadcast partners, all the right business partners like Dentsu, Japan's largest global sports media agency. And I think it was awesome to see esports coming together with martial arts. What people don't realize in the West is, gaming is a massive industry in Asia. There's 1.3 billion gamers, and yet no one dominates esports. And so one championship, our whole thing is, look, we have an opportunity to literally be Asia's largest live sports producer for millennials and Gen Z, and that's why we launched esports. So, in Asia, the only two forms of content that really are consumed, ravenously by millennials and Gen Z is literally martial arts and esports. And so effectively, One Champion now dominates the smart mobile device in terms of content, live sports content.
I'm a gamer myself. I actually, the last time we talked about in terms of any movement on a one championship video game, is there anything closer to maybe some news of a one championship game coming out soon?
Yeah, there's so much in the pipeline across various strategic projects and initiatives at One Championship. I'll just say there's some huge news going to come out soon, and we're definitely working on our video game.
Now, to move to regular topics, getting your thoughts on a lot of different things, one related, sport related. What you say is always important, influential. We talked about esports. Now I want to talk about the management agency One Star not too long ago. Some in the media had concerns that it could be a place where fighter favoritism could occur in terms of the fight book. However, of the fighters I have spoken to, they say the One management agency is more about getting one talent work outside of fighting. What is the purpose of the One management agency?
Well, no, I'll give you a great example, and it's happened to all of our athletes in One elite agency. Ong Lan Sang, the week after he signed with our talent agency, One elite agency, I think a week or 2 weeks after, he got a $250,000 endorsement deal.
Wow.
He didn't have to do any work. He didn't have to lift a finger. And our sales force, because we have 8 offices around Asia, growing to 10, and our sales force actively went out and sold him and was able to get him revenue. So, again, the American view of things, and I would, again, caution all fans to take a more global view of things. Just because something is done in America or the American way does not mean it's necessarily the optimal way or it's the right way. And so for us, look, we launched a talent agency to literally bring more revenue, more opportunities to our athletes. And it aligns perfectly with the rest of the organization because we're spending millions of dollars on marketing. We're spending millions of dollars on events. We're showcasing their stories. We're giving them massive opportunities to grow and promote their brand. And so it makes sense for us to partner also on the revenue side of things. And, again, my whole approach, I would say 95% or more of athletes in One Championship and we get along fantastically. We're like brothers and sisters. We're genuinely good friends who have each other's back. It's a very, very different approach than what we see in the Western organization where there's antagonism, hatred, and anger, even amongst the ranks versus management. We just don't see that here in One Championship. And again, for me, it's all about aligning our incentives, aligning our interests, and go after and pursue a common vision, a common mission with common values. And so that's something you're seeing here at One Championship. People don't quite understand it from the West, but people here definitely understand it here out in the East. But more importantly, our athletes are getting rich, and that's the most important thing.
I agree 1,000%. Now, I'll continue on that management agency kind of thing. Tell me about the impetus for the major changes to the agent certification process you made in April, like things like needing to live in Asia for a year, 10 years experience in the martial arts industry. Some people were in an uproar about that. In the release, you mentioned fraud.
No, for sure. So look, why do we do this? First of all, in Asia, it's a rampant problem. Ask any athlete from any martial arts, and they'll tell you agent managers, coaches, promoters are unfortunately have a reputation in Asia for being very unethical. So we want to stamp out all of that, and we only want to work with managers who have athletes' best interests at heart. And so, while we did have these prerequisites, a lot of the managers we work with don't necessarily have those credentials, or some of them do actually. But more importantly, they have an outstanding track record and reputation for treating athletes very fairly and creating win-win opportunities for the athletes. And so those are the managers we want to work with. And that's who we've chosen to work with, whether it's in the U.S., Europe, or Asia. We just want to work with good people.
All right, fair enough. In August, One Championship aired the weigh-ins and hydration tests for the Dreams of Gold event, something media here in the West have been really clamoring for. First, is this the beginning of something we will see at some point for every event? And second, is One hearing the complaints of some fans at media out here on these other topics and the working on making those changes?
I just think that, it's just a part of the process. I mean, live broadcasting our weigh-in process and hydration process was always part of the plan, and it's always part of the plan. So our athletes, their coaches and managers can, whenever they want, watch the weigh-ins and hydration process of their opponents, as they have been since day one. But we wanted to broadcast it out to the fan base so the fans could enjoy it more as well. But also understand that our process for weigh-ins is the same as in the world. When you have hydration testing, when you have weigh-ins, it really makes a big difference in terms of if the fighters are really depleting themselves and losing electrolytes and causing their brains to be depleted of water and the organs. It's a really unhealthy situation, and at One Champion we avoid that by doing hydration testing so that all the athletes are healthy, whether if they want to cut weight, but we can monitor their hydration levels. And beyond a certain level, you're not allowed to cut weight, beyond a certain hydration level. So it's just another angle for fans to enjoy.
Mm. Is it something? But will we see it more often? You think, or when?
No,
not yet.
It's every event. It's every event now. It's every event.
Okay, fantastic.
Now, yep.
How close are we to one being in the U.S.? I'm in New York. I've heard things about New York. I really, really hope you guys to come to New York. You told me about Madison Square Garden.
Right. No, so I'll just tell you, we've had discussions at the highest levels at Turner, and even AT&T. Which is obviously a parent company of Turner, and literally CEO, VP level, senior vice president level, and hence that's why we're broadcasting live for One Century, and it's going to be a product going forward where we broadcast live on TNT, and it's something that Turner really wants to invest behind, and obviously it's no secret they have AEW as well, so Turner really wants to dominate the combat sports scene. And One Championship is their vehicle to do so. Now, One Championship, we're grateful to have an amazing partner, incredible partner like Turner Sports, who obviously the home of NBA, but they also have Major League Baseball, they also have Champions League, and us, and so it's just a match made in heaven, and Turner executives have really been driving the idea of throwing events in America. And so, I think the plan is tentatively right now to throw an event at the year end of next year in the U.S., but I think it's not a one and done kind of thing. It's when we decide to throw an event in America, it will be the beginning of many, many events. And that's why we're taking our time and making sure we can do it and throw it in the same quality as we have here in Asia.
Yeah, and Angela Lee recently mentioned, she felt in an interview, she felt 90% sure that it would eventually come to Hawaii. Is the process of deciding really feeling what city provides the best opportunity? Like, is it California? Is it states like Hawaii?
No, for sure. I love Angela. I love Christian. I love their parents, Ken and Jules. They're all pushing me to throw an event in Hawaii. I think it would be a slam dunk home run, a spectacular event for all Hawaiians. Angela Lee and Christian are definitely the best pound for pound martial artists to come out of Hawaii. And so I think it's an amazing opportunity for One Championship to celebrate Hawaiian heroes. But at the same time, we also have a lot of other priorities. Again, Turner asking us to throw something, in their hometown. So, let's see what happens, and it doesn't have to be if. It doesn't have to be if or that. If or that. It can literally just be both scenarios will work. It's just a question of timing.
All right. I just have 3 questions left. I appreciate the time immensely. I would like to ask about the situation with WADA. WADA stated that they are not working directly with one on specific drug testing. But I know, they also suggest all outline and protocols and everything just for transparency to quiet the doubters here in the U.S. Like, what are the specifics of one's drug testing?
So WADA has a network of WADA certified facilities around the world. You don't have to work directly with WADA in order to be WADA standard in terms of your drug testing. And so we've been working with a WADA certified center for about a year now. And why a year? We've been experimenting and we've been testing the protocols across different countries to make sure we can get it right before we roll it out fully. And of course, I would love to work with WADA in the future. I have utmost respect and admiration for WADA as an organization. Phenomenal people, phenomenal process, phenomenal organization, of course. But there are various steps to be taken. And again, our competition team under the leadership of Matt Hume will make the best recommendation to me based on, efficiency and accuracy and reputation, and actually feasibility in Asia, right? So not every organization in the world is very strong in Asia. So that's kind of the difficulties we have, is that we want to work with the very, very best testing organization in Asia. And so, it's I think you're going to see some exciting announcements in the future, but I'm giving Matt Hume and his team the time and the space to make the right decision for us.
Now, I kind of asked you about this in the last conversation, and you're mentioning, TNT and their push for certain things. Is there a certain point where you mentioned AEW too, that we will just have one event primarily on TNT, or would it always kind of be a co-op with TNT and Breach Report, since they own Breach Report Live too?
I think all options are on the table. Again, the CEO of Turner Sports, the vice presidents of programming and sales, and the head of BR Live, we're all in very deep discussions, almost every week. And we want to do huge things with the partnership. And I think we both believe in each other a lot. And so everything is on the table, and we'll make the decisions that best suit our fans, and obviously that best suit Turner as an organization and One Championship as an organization.
What is the next big goal on the horizon for One? Because, what are the big hopes for 2020, 2021? When we last talked, you mentioned the India deal, which was very big. You got the Sky Sports and everything going on over there, Star Sports degree. We talked the major deal with Turn in the U.S., as it's continued to evolve. Is an event in the U.S., all these things. I've heard India event might be next year.
So let me just say, this year we threw approximately 40-plus events in Asia, and next year we're throwing 80 events across Asia, and then some of those events will be in the Western Hemisphere as well. At 80 events, I believe we're number one in the world in terms of sheer number of events. I think viewership numbers were already number one in the world. For example, the 1 Century event that's coming up on October 13th in Asia, which is October 12th in the U.S., we're anticipating 70 million viewers. Those estimates are our initial estimates of what we believe will happen. But again, it's really hard to tell, obviously, but it's making a lot of noise across many, many countries in Asia. And if we break 70 million, then obviously that's going to be the most watched event in the history of martial arts. But that being said, our regular events, throughout the year, our viewership numbers are definitely bigger than anything that exists in the Western Hemisphere. And it's not so much that the Western Hemisphere global properties are doing anything wrong. It's just that they're behind paid walls primarily, right? So the viewership numbers are obviously smaller.
Right.
In Asia, we're on free-to-air TV, so think NBC, ABC, CBS. We're on free-to-air TV every week, 3 to 4 hours a week across the entire continent. And so our event viewership numbers, by choice of our strategy, is going to be much bigger than that of our global competitors. And it's not to say who's better or who's worse. It's just those are facts, right? Our viewership numbers are literally multiples that of what you see out of UFC and what you see out of Bellator combined. And again, they have a paid wall strategy. We have a free-to-air, full distribution strategy, which is a very different approach.
Now, and the continued expansion of One, for global dominance. We don't hear too much about Europe. We hear about Asia. We hear about North America. Is Europe also in the plans? England, UK, stuff like that.
We opened our European office in Italy.
Okay.
We named Carlo De Blasi as our president of Italy, and that's our launch pad for Europe. But again, I don't want to say too much, but we have some massive announcements coming up. Whether it's our event schedule, whether it's the geographies we're going to be entering, whether it's new broadcast partnerships, and so many other different things. We have a lot of things in the pipeline that we've been working on that we just haven't announced.
Now, final question. I always like to end the interviews learning a little bit more about people. I know, doing the work with one, your martial arts on your own probably consume your life. But I always envision Chatri Sityodtong as an international man of mystery. Like, after work is done, you drive into like the best restaurant in Singapore in the best car with the finest ladies, and then it's like almost like Bruce Wayne. And then after that, you fight crime in Singapore, and then you get back to promoting. I mean, but I'm probably wrong. What is some of the things
No,
you
you're,
like to what are some of the
Jason,
things you like?
you have an incredible imagination. Let me tell you this, Jason. I own one car. It's a Toyota. I
What?
own one watch, which is a G-Shock.
What?
What do I do after work? I go and
Yeah.
train 2 hours a day.
Mhm.
Typically 1 hour of Muay Thai, 1 hour of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I have a very quiet life. I don't really party. I'm not into cars or, material things.
Mm.
I'm actually very into, Zen and simplicity. I'm into minimalism. Yeah, it's just a very different. I have a very different life than my counterparts in America. And it's again, it's not to say whose life is better or worse. It's just I just choose to have a low key life. That's me. I'm not big into material things. I'm just not. I just don't spend money on material things. I literally don't. I just have one Toyota, one car, and I literally one watch, a G-Shock, which probably cost me, I don't know, $500, and it was a gift from somebody. And on most days in the office, you'll see me in jeans and sneakers and a T-shirt, and yeah, I don't party. I don't have some crazy life. I train martial arts. I live and breathe martial arts, and that's pretty much I'm a pretty boring guy.
Are you like big into Netflix? Are you watching Stranger Things? Are you watching Marvel movies? Did you cry during Endgame like the rest of us?
No, I don't watch any TV. I love documentaries,
Okay.
which I watch on the plane. But I'm not into TV shows and movies. I just find them, unless I'm doing research. If I'm doing research for one championship, right? Because one of the things we're working on is obviously our TV series and our movies and for out of one championship, one studios. I'll do it for work, but I don't. The last time I sat down and actually watched a movie or a TV show, put it this way, I've never even seen a single episode of Game of Thrones.
What?
I just don't. Because for me, it's the way I think about life is, am I doing something that is productive and pushing me forward in terms of learning and growth? Is it pushing what I want out of life? Is it pushing me forward? And if it doesn't, I just kind of eliminate it from my life. So, yeah, the last time I watched a movie in a movie theater, many, many years ago.
I'm a big documentary person. What kind of documentaries? I like war history stuff. What do you like?
Yeah, same here. I love health documentaries. I love history documentaries. I love, cultural documentaries. Anything, again, where I can learn and grow. I'm really a big learner. I'm really big into having a beginner's mindset so I can keep learning, whether it's science, it's history, it's art, it's martial arts, or it's business. I love learning. And again, like I said, I'm probably the most boring CEO of all the global organizations, of the other two global organizations. I'm probably the most boring CEO, comparing myself to Dana and to Scott.